Hi friends, today we are going to see the past year NEET questions for the chapter Biological Classification, and in this video we will cover part 5. So let's begin with the first question, which was asked in the year 1995. The function of contractile vacuole in a protozoa dash. So what is contractile vacuole? A vacuole which is present in some protozoans. They expel excess liquid on contraction. So what is the role of this particular organ? It will expel, right? It expels the excess fluid which is not necessary for the protozoan outside. The point of the contractile vacuole is to pump water out of the cell through a process called osmoregulation, the regulation of osmotic pressure. It occurs in freshwater protists, but mainly it belongs to the kingdom of Protista as a whole. Therefore, out of the 4 options given here, the correct answer is option C, osmoregulation. In protozoa, the function of the contractile vacuole is a removal of the excretory substance. That is, when amount of liquid is in excess, it will be expelled from the body. So classification of the protozoans based upon the mode of locomotion I've given to your right side. We have amoeboids, which have the presence of pseudopodia, which is called as false leg. Then you have ciliates who have the presence of cilia in their body. Sporozoans are usually non-motile and their mode of reproduction is through spores, and flagellates where they will have the presence of flagella, which will help in the locomotion. Next question here, macro and micro nucleus, okay, are the characteristic feature of dash. Okay, they are asking us macro and micro nucleus. So here the macronucleus lacks nuclear membrane and is formed of trophochromatin. It regulates the metabolic activities of the body and is also known as trophonucleus. The micromolecules has a definite nuclear membrane and controls the reproductive activities of paramecium and Vorticella. So out of the 4 options given here, the first option is right. The macronucleus lacks the, so what does macro lack? Nuclear membrane, okay, and is formed by the trophochromatin. It regulates the metabolic activities of the body and also called as trophonucleus. The micromolecules, so here if you see, macro lacks in nuclear membrane while micronucleus has a well-defined nuclear membrane. The correct answer is option A, paramecium and Vorticella. So here you can see the difference between both. Macro lacks while micro has it. The correct answer is option A. Next question here, excretion in amoeba occurs through dash. It's a very easy question for you because we discussed about it in the previous question, in the earlier one, the first question that we saw today. Excretion in amoeba occurs through contractile vacuole. I told you, right, the excess liquid is expelled out of the protozoans with the help of this contractile vacuole. They are called as the excretory let out or the output of a protozoan. So major function, it maintains that balance in the body by expelling all the unnecessary liquid from the body. Therefore the correct answer to this question is contractile vacuole. It is supposed to assist the excretion in amoeba, not just amoeba but all the protozoans. Its watery contents possess traces of carbon dioxide and also urea. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option D, contractile vacuole. Next question here, Protistan genome has dash. What does Protistan genome have? So this talks about the kingdom Protista, and we all know under kingdom Protista we have dinoflagellates. What are the other things that are present in it? Chrysophytes, right? Chrysophytes. So these are some of the groups which come under Protista. So here if you see, they are given 4 options: membrane bound nucleoproteins embedded in the cytoplasm, free nucleic acid aggregates, gene containing nucleoproteins condensed together in loose mass, nucleoprotein in direct contact with the cell substance. So out of the 4 options given here, always remember that Protista kingdom belongs to the family of, they belong to eukaryotes. Major important thing that you need to remember here. And their genetic material is organized in the form of nucleus, and DNA will be so since they are eukaryotes, they will obviously have the proteins called histones in them. Therefore, the correct answer to this question will be option A. It is a membrane-bound nuclear protein embedded in the cytoplasm. So, as they resemble eukaryotes in their nature, everything will be well defined and correctly structured. Okay. Next question here. Protists obtain food as dash. So, protists, what do they comprise of? The kingdom comprises of algae, and algae are autotrophic in nature. What is the meaning of autotrophic? They can synthesize their own food. They're not dependent on any source. Here, protists obtain food through photosynthesis, symbionts, and halotrophs. The correct answer to this question is option A. Symbionts, in the sense certain algae also live in association with other organisms. That is called a symbiotic relationship. They live in mutual understanding that they don't affect each other, right? Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option A. Very easy question for you to answer. See, if you know each kingdom and under each group what actually comes in. Now we saw the 5 kingdom classification for R.H. Whittaker, who proposed it. So we all know Monera belongs to bacteria. Now Protista belongs to algae. So if you classify and study, it will be easy for you to identify answers for questions. Okay, next question here. Protista includes dash. This is again an easy question for you. When we talk about algae, we have different types of algae. Red algae, green algae, brown algae, and so on, depending upon the pigment that they are embedded in. So, kingdom Protista includes flagellates, diatoms, dinoflagellates, slime molds. Then you have ciliates, sporozoans. All these come under this. We already saw about the kingdom Protista. When we talk about slime molds and all, they are single-celled unicellular organisms which resemble like fungi, but yet they are not placed along with fungi. So Protista is a combination of everything. You not only have algae in it, but also you have other things which also come under this group. Therefore, it consists of a combination. Hence, heterotrophs, hemoheterotrophs, hemoautotrophs. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option D, all the above. Okay. Next question here. African sleeping sickness is due to dash. So, what is this African sleeping sickness? Will the person keep sleeping? Have you ever thought about that? See, African sleeping sickness is also called as trypanosomiasis. Trypanosomiasis. It's also called simply as sleeping sickness. It is caused by the microscopic parasites of the species Trypanosoma brucei. So who causes it? Trypanosoma brucei, and it is transmitted by an important fly called as tesse fly. Okay, therefore the correct answer to this question is option C, Trypanosoma gamians, transmitted by Glossina plapis. So here you have different serotypes which come under Trypanosoma, which will cause this particular sleeping sickness. So what happens when this person or when anybody gets African sleeping sickness? What are the symptoms that you can find is the person will get fever, headache, irritability, extreme fatigue. Then you'll have swollen lymph nodes, aching muscles and joints are the common symptoms of sleeping sickness. Some people also develop skin rash, progressive confusion, personality changes, and other neurological problems also occur with this information, because this particular protozoan will actually invade the neural system. That is why there is so much of confusion in the neural system. African sleeping disease is also called as trypanosomiasis, and it is common in west and central parts of African continent, because that is where you find this particular fly. What is that fly name as? It's called as tesse fly. Okay, it is called as tesse fly, which causes this particular disease in humans. You have different serotypes which come under the same family, Trypanosoma, which causes this. You have Gamnes here. Apart from that, you also have brucei. The disease appears when the casual organisms enters into the cerebrospinal fluid of the human, and that is why the nervous system is affected and the person seems to be very lazy and also really don't know what is happening around him. Therefore, the correct answer is option C. Next question here. Genetic information in paramecium is contained in dash. So what is this amoeba, paramecium and all that? They're all protozoans, right? So here I will show you a diagram. Paramecium has two nuclei. One is micro. So here you have that. So one is micro and the other is macro. So when it comes to micro, it is small, having two sets of chromosomes, which means they are diploid. They are concerned with the reproduction, that is, they store the genetic information. And macronucleus, they are larger, they have many sets of chromosomes, and what is their function? It is in regardance to the functioning of the cell. Therefore the correct answer for this question is micronucleus. Okay, so here it is clearly mentioned why it is micronucleus. It has two sets of chromosomes, it is concerned with the reproduction, and stores the genetic information. So what stores the genetic information in paramecium? Micronucleus. Next question here. What is true about Trypanosoma? Again, this is an easy question for you to answer. You are given four options here. Monogenetic, facultative parasite, non-pathogenic and polymorphic. So what is the meaning of each term that is given here? Polymorphic means they can exist in different forms. Okay, they can actually exhibit themselves in different forms. That is the main difference between the main definition for polymorphic. Now coming to monogenetic. What is the meaning of that now? Monogenetic parasite, they will call it as, relating to the involving in monogenesis. Okay, when we say monogenetic, they are involved in monogenesis. Here it usually resembles the flatworms, where monogenetic resembles to flatworms that ordinarily live as ectoparasites on the single host throughout their entire life cycle. So Trypanosoma is not like that. So this is involved in monogenesis. What do you mean by facultative parasite? Facultative means this and that. It can survive without a host or with the host. Non-pathogenic, obviously Trypanosoma is pathogenic. Therefore the correct answer to this question is polymorphic, because Trypanosoma, it exists in different forms in successive stages of the life cycle. Okay, therefore the correct answer is option A. These are Leishmania, Leptonod. Then you have another, they've explained the different stages which happen in the Trypanosoma. The correct answer is option A, polymorphic, and to your right side you can see a stained picture, an image of how Trypanosoma will be under microscope. Okay, next question here. Plasmodium, the malarial parasite, belongs to dash. Very easy answer for you to answer. When we talk about the malarial parasite, the important genus is Plasmodium, and you have several serotypes coming under it. You have several species which contribute to this particular disease called malaria. Depending on the region, depending on the country, depending on the location, the prevalence of the mosquito will vary. So everywhere it is not the same species which will cause the disease. For some areas, especially in the African side, you find Vivax falciparum. Now to your south side of India, you will find ovale, you will find malariae. So you have more species which come under Plasmodium. Plasmodium belongs to the class of sporozoans. They are infectious stages sporozoans. It is an endoparasite, we all know that, right? Lacking any locomotory structure and contractile vacuoles. So what is the reproduction mode? If you see, it is only through spores. Spores are the infectious stage of this particular protozoan. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option C, sporozoa. Okay, now you have a picture which shows the Plasmodium structure there, where you have the presence of polar, where you have flagella, where you have other cilia over it. Apart from that, you have other parts which help in the survival of the protozoan. Next question here. So here the next question is the causal organism for the African sleeping sickness. So we all know it is Trypanosoma, and we already discussed about it in the earlier questions where we spoke about the African sleeping sickness. African sleeping sickness is also called as trypanosomiasis, It is a common disease which is found in Africa because of the parasite Trypanosoma, and the exclusive one is Trypanosoma brucei and Trypanosoma gamnis. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option D. And that vector which helps in spreading this disease is the tessie fly, which is called as Glossina palpalis. Okay, next question here. The vector for sleeping sickness is dash. Once again, this is an easy question for you to answer. Yes, it is tessie fly, and I've also given you an image of how the fly looks. Vector for sleeping sickness is the tessie fly, the parasite of Trypanosoma, which is transmitted through the bite of this fly. It has been extensively studied because of their biological vectors in African trypanosomiasis or sleeping sickness. People are affected quite high when it comes to the African side by the bite of this particular insect. Tessie have existed in the modern morphological form for at least 34 million years, since fossil of tessie fly has also been discovered and maintained. So understand how important it is. So this particular species, this particular insect is responsible for causing this disease called as trypanosomiasis. The correct answer is option B. Next question here. Trypanosoma belongs to the class of dash. So as I already said, Trypanosoma has a flagella. Okay, they all have a flagella, and that is a mode of locomotion for them. Zooflagellates of protozoans are protista. They have flagella and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Trypanosoma, apart from that, if you want to know anything about it, we just now discussed it causes many diseases, and especially the sleeping sickness. Then this Trypanosoma belongs to the genus of, so that maybe you can note it down. It belongs to the genus Kinetoplastids, class Trypanosomatidae. So here Trypanosoma is a part of the phylum, and it is called as Sarcomastigophora. The name is derived from the Greek, that is borer. See, trypno means borer and soma means body. Trypno means borer, which means in Greek, it's taken from the Greek word. The meaning is borer. Actually, these elements will bore into your body, it seems. They find holes, they make holes in your body, and that's how they gain entry. That is why it is named as Trypanosoma. Trypanosoma belongs to the class of Zooflagellata. Okay, the correct answer is option B, because they have a flagella which helps in the motility of the protozoan. Okay, next question here. The bite of the tessie fly, okay, may pass to humans with the help of dash. Obviously, the protozoan that is responsible for this transmission of this disease through a vector called tessie fly. It's option B, Trypanosoma gamnis. Other than that, you also have another serotype or a species which come under Trypanosoma. It is called as brucei. Okay, the correct answer to this question is option B. Already, see, these questions seem to be highly repetitive, so I think I don't have to give much explanation, because it's continuously we have questions asked from trypanosomiasis. So I think you need to remember all this before you go for your exam. The correct answer to this question is option B. Next question here. The infective stage of the malarial parasite Plasmodium that enters the human body is dash. So this is again an easy question. So in this particular part, if you see, we had been continuously revolving around two things. One was trypanosomiasis and the other was Plasmodium, the malarial disease and the sleeping sickness disease. Now this last question of this part is also a repetitive question. We already saw the malarial parasite, they do not have any mode of transport, that is, they don't have any flagella system or anything like that. Their infectious stage is the spore, and their mode of reproduction is also in the form of spores. Therefore, the infective stage of the malarial parasite Plasmodium which enters into the human body is sporocyte. We have different species which come under this particular Plasmodium. We have Vivax, we have Falciparum. Then what else you remember? We have Ovale. So there are many species under this particular genus which is said to cause malaria. So this is once again a vector-borne disease like trypanosomiasis. In trypanosomiasis, we saw tessie fly as a vector which transports this disease from one person to another. By the bite of this insect, That is how the organism gains entry into the human. Likewise, malaria is also a vector-borne disease where the transmission is from the mosquito bite to the humans. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option B, sporocyte. So symptoms are moreover similar when compared to African sleeping sickness and malaria, but only thing, malaria you don't have any neurological system affected, but when you compare it with trypanosomiasis, majority of neural system will be affected in the last stage for the person. Therefore, the correct answer for this particular question is option B, sporocyte. So with this we complete the part 5 of biological classification. I hope this was very easy for you to answer because it was continuously repetitive questions which was revolving around two particular things. Hope to meet you in the next part of the same chapter. Thank you for watching my video.